Right, so Morrowind. Morrowind is one of my favorite games. That's why I decided to do it first. I know the game very well. I've been playing it pretty much since it was released in 2002. One of the reasons I've decided to play this game is that it is still played very actively despite being, almost 20 years old. And it also has a really active modding community. You'll notice that I am playing OpenMW. OpenMW is a re-implementation of the engine done by a huge team of people. It gets regular updates every few months, and it allows you to play the game on a modern system with higher performance, less crashes, less bugs. I also use a whole ton of mods because there's a very, very active modding community. Things like Tamriel Rebuilt, all sorts of graphics stuff. There should be lots of new content that some viewers haven't seen. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Morrowind, maybe you know Skyrim or Elder Scrolls Online or some of the more recent Elder Scrolls games. Personally, I think Morrowind is the best Elder Scrolls game for a number of reasons. You'll probably hear me talk about that ad nauseum as we play. If you disagree, that's fine too. I'm not going to try and convince you. I like it for lots of reasons. Lots of reasons that I'll talk about throughout this gameplay. And yeah, no. So let's get started. Yeah, we'll go into more detail about what type of Let's Play this is going to be as we go along.
They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison, first by carriage and now by boat. To the east, to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
Wake up. We're here. Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up. Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name?
Alright, we're here. I will try and not talk through cutscenes in general, obviously, because it's really crazy to have my voice layered over other voices. But anyway, so that's the brilliant little full motion video made in 2002 intro. So this is going to be I guess you could call it a casual roleplay in the sense that I'm not going to be doing like voice acting and stuff like that. That's just not really my bag. But I'll try and create a character with a somewhat coherent backstory that makes sense within the game world, and that sort of is, uses some of the lore. Anyway, so I have a name for our character. It's Hlena. We're going to be playing a female Dunmer character. Spoilers. Because I think that's an interesting character in a number of ways in the game. Interestingly, I don't know if people noticed, but in that intro video, I mean, the game allows you to choose a female or a male character, but it refers to the protagonist as he. So that's kind of like a strange oversight on the part of the developers. Probably a Freudian slip. I mean, I think at the time, in 2002, video games were primarily aimed at a male audience, but it's kind of funny to see that they used he in the opening video. We will be playing a she, however. and our name is going to be Hlena. If you're playing this game and you create a new character and you don't know what to name them, there's all sorts of great sites on the internet that allow you to randomly generate names. So this is a name that I've randomly generated using one of those sites. I can't even remember which one. Maybe I'll post a couple links in the description to the video. But what those name generators allow you to do is to pick a name that is appropriate for the race and gender of the character that you're playing. So I mean, obviously you can just name your character Fuckface, or whatever you want if that's how you want to play. I'm gonna try and go for a more role play mode here. I'm also not going to give my character a last name because, well, we've been told already that the character comes from sort of unknown parents, so I can't imagine that they would have a last name. Although, so anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to name the character Hlena, and we are going to get going.
Not even last night's storm could wake you. I heard them say we've reached Morrowind. I'm sure they'll let us go. Quiet. Here comes the guard.
This is where you get off. Come with me.
All right. You'll notice there's not a lot of voice acting in Morrowind, so I should be able to talk reasonably continuously without interrupting anyone. If I do, I apologize. You'll notice I've got some graphics mods on, higher resolution textures and all sorts of stuff like that. I try to keep it as vanilla friendly as possible.
Get yourself up on deck and let's keep this as civil as possible.
Okay. I try and keep it as vanilla friendly as possible, so that means I'm picking mods that look like the original game, but just sort of look a little bit more polished, higher resolution, and some kind of pretty visual eye candy without really changing the basic aesthetic of the game. Some of these are more vanilla friendly than others, but and I'll talk about those as we encounter them. But so I try and maintain the original kind of atmosphere of the environment, because I think Morrowind has a really beautiful aesthetic. Even in 2002 it did. I mean, obviously, some of the polygons were kind of silly looking and stuff like that, limitations of the day, but I think overall they created a really fascinating aesthetic. The game world is really, really beautiful, and has gotten even more beautiful with all the great mods that have been made. So let's keep going here. In this video, I'm going to try and get through the character generation.
This is where they want you. Head down to the dock and I'll show you to the census office.
All right.
You finally arrived, but our records don't show from where.
All right. So, first choices we get to make here. Oops, I want to be female. You'll notice that one of the mods I have is these better faces and bodies and armor and stuff, so we get lots of choices that you wouldn't have in the vanilla version. So I can, fool around and pick a face. All these female Dunmer look kind of nasty. And I'm going to make a character that's like not sort of a goody two-shoes, because I think that's a little bit boring. I also don't want to make a character who's sort of your chaotic evil, run around doing everything, because that kind of, you can sort of do anything you want with an evil character, which is cool. But I want to kind of impose some limitations, a sort of moral code on this character, because I think that makes it more interesting for me. So yeah, let's look at hair. This is silly. This is, some of these mods I think are this looks like an anime character. I would consider this sort of not vanilla friendly, to be honest. This bright orange hair. Although I guess it looks more like, I guess some of the more recent titles like Elder Scrolls Online have a little bit more of that going on. But yeah, I don't think that Dunmer dye their hair bright orange. Not in the Morrowind era, anyway. Let's see. There are all sorts of mods you can get for this, by the way. I've picked a pretty basic assortment because I find that some of the visual mods just get really overwhelming, and they're not all super well made. But some of them are really great. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going through these mostly to show you kind of the level of variety we have. We'll see these around the game too. That veil is intense. I feel like if we have a character with a veil, we'll be like playing through the entire game with this crazy veil over our face, which is pretty wild. But I think we'll encounter some NPCs. These face mods change the NPCs' faces, of course, as well. So we'll be seeing some of these faces around the game for sure. Wow, lots of veils. They're kind of cool, almost tempting, but I think it's maybe a bit too extreme. Yeah, I'm going to stick with something basic. I'm going to go with something like this, because we're going to be getting armor and clothing and all sorts of stuff and personalizing this character as we go along. So yeah. So Dark Elf, we get these skill bonuses: Athletics, Destruction, Light Armor, Long Blade, Marksman, Mysticism, and Short Blade. Some of those we'll be using, some of them not so much. Anyway, we'll get more into skills as we continue. Side notes, in Morrowind, the gender of your character does change their attributes. In games that were more recently released, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, I think Oblivion, Skyrim, I don't think it matters. It doesn't change at all whether you're female or male. Female and male characters in Morrowind, it's not like one is better than the other, they're just better at slightly different things, which is interesting. It's an interesting choice. I feel like most games don't make that choice now, but you know, it was an interesting choice at the time. You could have a whole debate about that, I bet. But that's part of the reason I want to play a female character, because female characters are different in this game than male characters, so it's kind of an interesting relic of this era. Alright.
Great. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release.
Looks like things are not lagging too much.
Head on in.
Alright, let's let this dude talk.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
Alright, so we get 3 choices here. Excuse me. We get 3 choices here. And this is interesting too, because it's kind of a vestige of earlier role-playing games. You know, if you played a role-playing game on MS-DOS back in the day, you would be doing things like answering these questions, and that would determine what skills you get. You also get a list of preset classes, which can be interesting as well. The class list isn't really optimized for the mechanics of the game. So if I pick like an archer class, I'm not necessarily going to have the skills that are most useful for an archer, and it can be kind of hard to progress in the game, so I am going to go with a custom class. I have a mod called Natural Character Growth and Decay, and I'll get into detail about that later, but basically I'm not using the vanilla skill progression because you can kind of run into some roadblocks and bottlenecks where you want to progress in a certain sense, but you haven't kind of min-maxed your level ups, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend a huge amount of time micromanaging every skill I use and level ups, because I don't think it's that interesting to watch. If you want to learn how to do that, there are tons of videos, and it can be an interesting way to play the game, but so I've got this mod that basically will allow us to progress more naturally, and we'll use whatever skills we want, whatever skills we feel like, and what we feel like fits the character and their backstory. But we won't have to be worrying too much about how it affects our ability to progress in the game. So Hlena is going to be a hunter. Oops, my caps lock button is on. Hlena is going to be a hunter. I'm going to say, let's say for her backstory, so she comes from, well, she was in Cyrodiil anyway before she was in prison, presumably. I guess we can presume that. I'm going to presume that she's never been to Morrowind before, even though she's a Dunmer. I think if the character's already been to Morrowind and say spent their childhood here, they would know lots about it. But this is kind of a game of discovering a new landscape. So we'll say that she grew up in Cyrodiil and she was a hunter, and perhaps she got arrested for poaching on some noble's land or something and ended up in prison. But we'll say that she has sort of hunter-related skills. And so I'm going to pick Stealth as my specialization. Specialization just gives you a few bonus points in those stats. By the way, I'm not going to go in super in depth into game mechanics. I'll be commenting on them throughout, but this is by no means a tutorial. There's some really great tutorials on Morrowind out there, and I will certainly point you to them and put links in the description if you want to learn more about how this works. But yeah, so let's see here. Favorite attributes. I'm going to go with agility because agility affects how easy it is to hit targets, and that's really important because, I mean, if you all played Morrowind in 2002, you would have noticed that it's very hard to hit anything early in the game, and that might be a bit tedious to watch. So let's go with agility. For my second skill, I think I'm going to go for willpower. If I remember correctly, the female Dunmer has less willpower than the male Dunmer, and willpower affects how easy it is to cast spells. So I think that's a good combination. We will be able to increase these attributes. Actually, they'll increase naturally as we progress. We won't be putting points into them like you would in the vanilla system, so we won't have to make a lot of choices throughout the game. Major skills. All right, so I want to pick. So we already have bonuses to short blade and long blade. I want to use as wide a variety of skills as possible in the game, as long as they're kind of consistent with the character. So for a hunter character, I kind of feel like it would be sort of a hunting knife, short blade type thing, and then obviously marksman, which is here. So those are going to be our two kind of assault combat attack skills. We're going to use light armor. I like light armor because you move quicker, because movement in Morrowind is really slow. And so if you're wearing heavy armor the first half of the game, you're just going to be crawling around at a snail's pace, and I don't think anyone wants to watch that. There are some mods that fix that, by the way, but I'd rather not use them. Alright, we should have a spell school for sure, because spells are kind of difficult to increase in skill, and your major skills you increase faster than your minor skills and your other skills. So it'd be good to have a spell school. I'm going to pick restoration. I think Hlena is going to be a mix of sort of hunter healer. You know, she's going to have kind of some wilderness knowledge and stuff like that. And let's go for alchemy as well. I imagine so. It's a hunter, forager, healer type character. I think that will allow for lots of interesting interactions in the game worlds. Alchemy is really cool in Morrowind, really cool, so I want to do that for sure as we go along. Minor skills, sneak. I'm hesitant to put sneak in minor. I almost want to put it in major because sneak is really hard to train. I probably will be just paying for training in sneak because it's just very tedious to crouch around and gradually work up this skill. But for now, I'll put it in minor. I think that should be okay. I think we'll have enough sneak to, say, get sneak attacks when we're doing marksmanship and stuff like that, which is kind of important. I want armorer. I feel like this character is pretty self-reliant, and rather than pay people to fix their stuff, they're going to do it themselves. But armorer doesn't need to be, super high. It just needs to be decent. We might pay for some training in that as well, because it levels up pretty slowly. Alright, what else? Security, for sure. I feel like hunters set traps, and so lockpicking and things like that, I feel like Hlena is going to be pretty agile at doing that kind of thing. And also there's tons of locks to pick in this game, so we can use spells to do that, but I would rather use security. I just think it's simpler. We're not going to have a lot of magic as this character, so we have to pick and choose what we're going to use magic for. I'm thinking as well, now athletics is good. I would like to do athletics. That will help us level up a little bit quicker because we train athletics simply by running around in the game. I also want to get this character kind of fast so that it doesn't take forever to walk from point A to point B, so that will help us level that skill up faster. And I think I'm just going to go through, this is the last pick here. Long blade, blunt, no, none of these, okay. I don't think we're missing anything vital here. We have security, we have sneak, we have light armor, short blade, marksman. I'm not going to pick mercantile or speechcraft. I feel like this character is arriving in a new province, even though she's a Dunmer. I think she probably doesn't know the local dialect, and so we're going to have a lot of difficulty talking to characters, and we're going to have to sort of get better at that, and learning the local language to navigate the world. But I think I'm going to pick mysticism. Mysticism is an interesting stat. It allows us to cast a lot of like the teleporting spells, which I think are going to be kind of important, as well as capturing souls and stuff like that. It's kind of a mixed bag of various different kinds of spells and, you know, knowledge about the mystical parts of the world. So it's kind of a cool skill. Anyway, that rounds these out. You'll see, because I'm using this natural character growth and decay mod, you'll see that the governing attributes for these different skills are different than they would be in the vanilla game. So you'll also notice that the skills influence more attributes. So in the vanilla game, you would have to pick skills based on, you'd have to have an even spread of skills to make sure that you're able to increase each attribute. In this mod, you don't really have to do that, because you can see here short blade influences agility, speed, and personality. I think it influences agility more, for example. Marksman, strength, agility, and speeds. Mysticism is intelligence, willpower, and personality. So, you know, we've got a spread here. Do we have anything that's, yeah? So armorer's endurance. I think we've got pretty much every skill here. Probably personality will level up the slowest. Well, no, it looks like we have some of that too. But probably endurance actually then, because looks like we have very little that actually affects endurance. Athletics, that's good. We'll also use skills that are not our major and minor skills. So we will have other means of increasing attributes. So I think we're all good there.
Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
Alright, so signs. We could pick one of the magic signs, because it's very hard to get your maximum Magica level up, unless you're casting a lot of spells. But then we'd have to pass up other things. So the magic signs, we got the Apprentice, the Acheron, and the Mage. Something like the Mage might be good, but I kind of feel like it's not really in keeping with this character. So we might have to just, you know, pay for some training if we're going to do any serious magic later in the game. And we'll probably limit ourselves to fairly basic spells, but that's fine. That's fine. This is a good one because it gives us lots of attribute points, but I don't think I'm going to do that one actually. This is the one that I like, I think, for this character. So it's going to fortify attribute agility, 25 seconds. Or 25 points, sorry, and then we have Lover's Kiss, which paralyzes the opponent but damages your fatigue. I don't think we'll ever be using this, to be honest, but this is a big boost. We will be able to, especially with marksmanship, if we don't have good agility, we're just not going to be able to hit anything, and we're a hunter, so we should be able to shoot things and hit them. And so that will greatly assist in that. So I think we'll go with the Lover. Alright.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
Okay, so what I want to check here, I just want to make sure that, yeah. So you see here I have, oh yeah, my endurance is low. Okay, so maybe I'll change agility for endurance. I don't want to start with 30 endurance. I kind of want all my skills to be roughly, my attributes, sorry, to be roughly even. So let's go back and change agility to endurance, because we're also getting the agility bonus from the sign here. So there we go, 40, 40, 40, 65 is really solid. Speed 50, that's great. I think Dunmer are faster than other races if I remember correctly. Some other races anyway, so that's good. We won't have to be kind of crawling around the game. Endurance, personality, luck. So we've got a pretty balanced character with a big boost in agility and a little boost in speed. Short blade is 45, marksman is 40, light armor 40. These are all, we get a boost to these skills because we picked stealth as our like favored attribute or whatever. Sneak is 20. That should be enough to do some basic, very basic sneaking. If we want to like steal things, we'll have to get that up to like 30 or 40, and that will involve paying for training. Armor 15. That's not very good, but it's enough to take care of the stuff we have without it being very expensive. These are good. These should be fairly good. Security, we should be able to open most basic locks. We won't be able to open anything that's like really high level, but that's fine. This one we might need to do some training as well, but it should allow us to cast some of the very basic spells. Alright, what else? Longblade, we probably will at some point stop using short blades and start using long blades because long blades are better. But I think that will evolve as the character evolves, and as we get into different situations where we go from being a sort of everyday hunter to being on this epic quest. Destruction, I don't know if I'm going to use this, but we do start with level 15, so it might be cool to learn 1 or 2 destruction spells, and to experiment with that a bit. All of this we get a little bonus because we picked stealth as our favorite attribute, so that's kind of cool. We don't get a bonus to, no, that's magic, okay. Acrobatics, mercantile, speechcraft, hand-to-hand. Probably won't be using hand-to-hand very much, although who knows. This is very easy to increase. Mercantile I probably won't increase, just because you get very, very rich very quickly if you do that. It's everything to do with trading, so I'll probably just not do too much haggling. We'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind. And Speechcraft is high priority. We're going to have to work on that. Alright. The only spell we know is Hearth Heal, which is kind of useful. At least we have a way to heal ourselves. Because otherwise we'll die very quickly. This is not the easiest game at the beginning. Anyway, let's go.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
Alright.
Continue through to the next building and talk to Celiscravius.
There, we showed him our papers. Okay, so this is kind of a miniature tutorial that the main game makes you do. A lot of the time people would steal all this stuff and sell it. I'm probably not going to do that, because I feel like this character just sort of got out of prison, and I feel like they don't want to get caught stealing stuff from the census office, even though in the game you can easily get away with it. But I will take the dagger, you know. I think Hlena is suspicious. She doesn't know what's going on, and seeing a dagger on the table right there, I think she would maybe hide that and take it. And the lockpick as well, because who knows what's going to happen next. Maybe they're just taking her to another prison, and she's going to need to like try and escape or something. Also, I think I'll also take this food, because it's laid out on the table. Maybe it's for me, maybe not. But I'll take this food and drink. And yeah, because again, she really doesn't know where she's headed here and whether she's going to be in imminent danger. So I think she wants to make sure she has like a day's provisions or so. Alright, here we are. Now this we don't have a choice about. We have to look in this barrel, and we have to take this ring of healing, otherwise we can't go through that door. I'm not going to take 2 pictures, no. You have a magic menu? Yes, we have a magic menu. Alright. Probably, I'll do that after. Alright, here we are. Talk to the captain.
Your papers, please.
There you are. Alright, first let me take your identification papers. Thank you. Word of your arrival reached only reached me yesterday. I am Celis Gravius, but my background is not important. I'm here to welcome you to Morrowind. I will try and read most of the text in this game, by the way. It's mostly a text-based game. It's not a voice acting game, which is, I think, actually a good thing in a number of ways. I guess I'll talk about that later. But I'll try and read most of this, unless it gets really long-winded or it's kind of non-central to the plot, because I'll probably get tired of reading at some point, but I'll try and read most of it. So, who cares about his backgrounds? Morrowind, yes, you're here in Morrowind. I don't know why you're here, or why you were released from prison and shipped here, but your authorization comes directly from Emperor Uriel Septim VII himself, and I don't need to know any more than that. When you leave this office, you are free, but before you go, I have instructions on your duties. Instructions from the Emperor, so pay careful attention. Alright, so I guess we'll ask him about the duties. This package came with news of your arrival. You were to take it to Caius Cusades. Pronouncing names is going to be a running joke, I think, in this game. In the town of Balmora. Go to the South Wall Corner Club and ask for Caius Cusades. They'll know where to find him. Serve him as you would serve the Emperor himself. I also have a letter for you and a dispersal to your name. Dispersal is a funny word for cash. So there we go. Alright. We should probably ask about who this Caius character is. I can't tell you where to find him, but you were to go to this, so he's just repeating the same thing. And we should probably ask him where Balmora is. Balmora is north of Seydonin, which is, I guess, where we are. The road passes Pelagiad village, and Fort Pelagiad crosses a deep... Okay, this is just directions. I'm not going to read that. So these are the directions to it. For more detailed directions, talk to Alone the Scout at Real's trade house here in Seydonin, but take my advice. You're new here. Take the Silt Strider to Balmora. Fast, cheap, safe. Alright. We will weigh our options on that. Okay, so I think we've got all the information we need. We should maybe read. Oh, we've got the directions here, right? Okay. And I think the package we can't read, right? Yeah, the package is encoded and we're not supposed to try and read it, so there we go. Anything in here? The package has been sealed and your tampering will be discovered and punished. By the way, you can't tamper with it and it doesn't get discovered. But it's nice for flavor. Do not show them to anyone. Alright. Remember, you owe your life and freedom to the Emperor. Serve him well and you will be rewarded. Betray him and you will suffer the fate of all traitors. I have the honor to prepare this at the... Okay, yeah. Great. Cool. I don't think there's anything else in here that's really necessary for the continuing of the plot. Anyway, let's emerge into the game world. Natural character growth and decay. I'm going to set this. These are the settings for this mod, by the way. I'm going to set this to standard, so that our attributes will grow kind of as they would more or less in the vanilla game. I'm not going to have skills decay. I feel like, I mean, this is probably going to be a long playthrough, but I feel like that's just too much to handle. I don't want to have to be paying attention to which skills I'm not using, and you know, kind of, I don't want to be grinding skills excessively. So let's just turn that off. And this is a new game. All right.
If your clothes are any indication,
so that mod is just going to. There we go. You see our skills are being set. I'll explain what happened with that in the next video. We have just emerged from the kind of tutorial into the village of Seydonin.
If I can help, I will.
Shut up.
Don't take too much time.
So we will launch into this game of Morrowind in the next video. Thank you very much. Ciao.